Good evening, how you doing? I'm Yalak, and the wife and dogs are asleep, so hopefully we'll have a moment to get this finished. So, I beat this guy earlier using this Bullitt Zooka combo, which I've been working with a lot lately. Once again, thank you, Morty. If you don't know who that is, look it up. Anyway, I will be honest with you, this was I want to say it was the fifth try on this base because I found pretty much every way to mess this up and realized halfway through that I was thinking about it in a pretty wrong-headed way, which was why I wanted to do this video, because I've realized I've posted a few of these and I haven't explained why they work. And so first of all, it took me a bit, obviously myself, on this one to make it work, but also there's just kind of there's a general logic, and I guess in this case my more specific logic was the failure. So this guy is a, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 2 boosted, so 6 ice, 2 of them boosted with a shield. Looks like a shield 2. Probably wouldn't have mattered. Started with 104 Zookas, ended with 51, which hence why it probably wouldn't have mattered. So this would have been kind of a difficult base to approach with just about any other troop combination, at least things that I usually run. Everything is spread out. That's not really conducive to, for my RCZM hits and so on, I like to have things close together so they can be, particularly rockets and shock launchers, so they can be shocked in unison. So nothing here was really going to be favorable as far as that went. Plus, the shock launchers have the tri boost right now, so I don't even know what the health on these things were, but it was bound to be ridiculous because, again, this is 6-2, and that's all health, by the way. 4 health guardians. So yeah, not even an option. Barding those down was not going to happen. So had to approach this a different way. This was not going to be, actually not a great setup for my warriors either. Plus today wasn't a boosted day. If you don't know if you checked the stats there earlier, but this was completely unboosted other than the tribes. So those are my normal unboosted stats. So I was looking at this base and had the idea that this troop combination would work because the base is kind of front-loaded. I mean, most of the defenses are towards the beach, towards the front of the base, and towards the back of the base, things kind of peter out a little bit. And so, obviously, it's not a badly designed base. There are some things back here. There's splash damage here, continuous damage there, continuous damage, splash damage, and so on. These are all things that are important to have for, defending your headquarters from the rear. Probably against a hit just like this. However, as much as I have complained about Private Bullitt being nerfed, he's still way overpowered in some cases, and this is one. So really, the main thing you have to worry about with Bullitt is that you don't want him getting shocked. So had there been, say there'd been a blaster right here where this flamethrower is in front of the HQ, that would have been a real problem. In fact, I had something similar happen on a different account earlier tonight, and I had to adjust for that because Bullitt was getting chain shocked. And that really ruined these hits because then he can't taunt. This shock launcher, is a bit further away maybe than it should be, so it's not something I have to address right away for the plan that I have. My plan is to park Bullitt right into the blind spot of this shock launcher, and then to flare my girls back to a spot here between the shield generator and the mortar, and with Bullitt right there, this mortar should end up getting taunted. Now originally, several of my fails resulted from the fact that I was worried about this rocket launcher. This was the wrong-headed bit. So I had barded that out and thought I would just address this stuff up here with Bullitt being in the way of it. And as it turned out, well, I failed at least one hit just because it was bad planning and bad scouting, and caught mines on the way, and a couple more just for various reasons. And even in the hit where I was successful, I still messed up here and got my girls scorched a little bit. I got a bit lucky on that, but really this did not need to be addressed at all because of the angle that I was taking. If you think about, where is my pen? Why is it all the way down there? If you think about where we're going to have Bullitt, right here, and the girls are going to be in a group back here, this rocket launcher is really not a concern. So that was a bit silly on my part, because the rocket launcher, the closest thing to it by far, is going to be Bullitt initially, and he's likely to move sort of this way as the hit progresses, as things start to be destroyed around him, and so that rocket launcher continues to be not a problem because Bullitt will intercept all of that rocket fire. On the other hand, the machine gun up here, oh, I put the pen away, so that doesn't really work. The machine gun up here is going to be a problem with Bullitt, again, parked right down there. Not necessarily taunted. I was hoping it would be, but it wasn't, and so the machine gun ended up targeting when I finally got a good hit. Got my girls in the right position and everything with a good number of them. It turned out that the machine gun turned on my girls and started firing. So, the solution to all of that was to BART out the machine gun instead and just leave the rocket launcher alone. So we'll put this into 2x mode here. Had to clear a certain number of mines. I think he had a shock mine hidden back here. And here we're taking out that machine gun. And I think that's pretty much it as far as tower removal on this base goes. So that's, I mean, clearing some mines, removing one very, very specific tower. And then here, this is our setup, and this, again, ends up being successful. This is going to work. Well, let's get everybody in position before... Get everybody into the position just before they come out of smoke, and then hopefully we'll be able to see. It should help visualize why this ends up being successful. So we've got Bullitt right next to the shock launcher, as I said, and we're going to pause right there. Now, oh yeah, and I failed one hit because I did not flare quickly enough from here. So before this timer runs out, that's your shock timer right in the middle, you need to flare your target, because otherwise Bullitt's going to start moving, because there's a flare active back here. This is where the girls are going. So if you don't flare before that shock timer runs out, yeah, Bullitt's going to head back this way, and guess what? Then he's not protecting your ladies from any kind of incoming fire, because he's standing amongst them, and that's no good. So that was one of the fails. I think we've accounted for at least 3 of them at this point, so there were plenty. I'm sure this guy can, well, I mean, he can sit there and laugh all he wants, but I did beat him on this one. So anyway, got the pen. So we've got Bullitt here, which is exactly where we wanted him. Girls are going to be back here, and we're going to flare to that shock launcher to keep Bullitt exactly where he is, and then he's going to taunt, and he's going to taunt all of these things. He's going to taunt this order here. He is in the way. He is the closest thing to this rocket launcher, so if it can fire at all, I believe it can. I think he's just outside of the blind spot, so if it can fire at all, it's going to fire on him. However, at some point the girls are going to start to spread. And when they start to spread, that's going to look something like this. That's a lot of lines. We'll clear that in a second. But when the girls do start to spread and move in towards the HQ, we are going to have to shock that rocket launcher. However, as I said, this rocket launcher down here is completely accounted for, because Bullitt is always going to be the closest thing inwards towards it. So I really should have reasoned that out in the first place. And that leaves really one problem here. There's a whole bunch of Zookas, there's a whole bunch of GBE back there, so we'll be able to keep doing things as the hit progresses. And the real problem that we have is that Bullitt is right now just kind of on the outer range of this shock launcher, the lower shock launcher. However, as he moves in towards the HQ, again, as the Zookas start clearing things, he's definitely going to be in range of that. So you're going to see some critters coming out, at least at one point, maybe at 2, and that's really just an attempt to keep that rocket launcher distracted. Shock launcher Wow. Anyway, I'm throwing the critters into the range of things that are taunted by Bullitt, trying to keep the critters alive as much as possible. The shock launcher does not fire very quickly, so pretty much any kind of distraction is a big deal, and that allows this hit to progress. So, oh, we're in 2x mode. Probably shouldn't be. So the shock launcher, wow, terrible, is down. There's one set of critters, and the girls have cleared the shield, and they're clearing pretty much everything else in their vicinity. Now this is where this rocket launcher, God, I'm going to do it the reverse way now, becomes a problem. So we shock it, and the girls are now spreading all over creation. But the shield's down, so at this point flaring to the HQ, and the second batch of critters comes out because Bullitt had been shocked, and so he was stuck back here a little bit, and the girls were moving in towards the HQ, so I was really, really worried that they were going to step ahead of him, and then we have multiple problems. Shock launcher, rocket launcher, shock launcher, or rocket launcher over there. So, yeah, that was not a good thing, so got the critters out, hoping, if anything fired, hoping they would fire on them and not on the girls. And actually, this rocket was about to become a problem because of the sort of curvature, the arc that your girls take when they focus on a single target. But, I mean, at that point it kind of didn't matter because the HQ was already dissolving. Because that is a lot of Zookas focused on one thing, and it doesn't really matter what that one thing is. I don't care how much ice you have. Zookas will wreck house. That's kind of what they're best at. So, yeah. So to recap, it did take me a bit, but 6-2 with a whole bunch of building health goes down, and goes down fairly easily when we do it right. But figuring out your angles, figuring out what's going to be closest to you, figuring out what's going to be shooting at you, and what's going to be concentrated on Bullitt, kind of a big deal. Look for these situations where most of your defenses would be towards the front of the base, because if you can get to the back of the base and turn your troops around like this, Bullitt ends up negating all of that damage. Just, he can sit there and eat it up all day. Look, his health is still just under half, I'd want to say. And those are the situations where you can really employ this trick usefully, and it's a good trick, so well worth working on, even if it takes 5 times as it did in this case. So hope that helps you. Hopefully you can find a place to go out and use this also. This has become really a pretty regular part of my repertoire over the last several weeks, along with my heavy Zooka, my warriors, my RCZM and HRCZM, occasional Bullitt grappler shenanigans, and then there's this, and I found it to be an incredibly useful tool to have handy. So practice it, love it, it's well worth knowing about, and that's all I've really got for you. So catch you later. Have a great night.